Hi, this is Omar from orware.com, and this is going to be a quick tutorial slash demonstration video on the new DOCman list 2.6.0, which adds in DOCman 2.0 support for the plugin. So what I have here on the screen is a bare bones Joomla 2.5 installation on my site, and on the second tab here, I'm already logged in to the Joomla administrator, and I've gone ahead and enabled debugging, and I'm going to go ahead and start the process of installing DOCman 2.0. So DOCman 2.0 consists of two different files. First, you need to install extension man, RC4. If you're using beta 3 at least. So I'm going to start with that first. Upload and install. Takes a couple seconds. Okay, so now that adds in extension man here. Next, I'll go ahead and install DOCman 2.0 beta 3. Okay, a couple more seconds for that one. Alright, that looks like it was successful. So now we have DOCman here. And for the last thing, I'm going to go ahead and add in DOCman list 2.6. Upload and install. Alright, and here you'll have just my kind of generic description from past versions of DOCman list. There's definitely a lot more going on. So first things first, for the plugin, you want to go to the plugin manager and do make sure that it is enabled. Otherwise, it won't work, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But before we do anything with DOCman list, I'm going to go into DOCman, and I am going to take a look at what we have here. So right now there isn't much in the way of files because I haven't added any into DOCman 2.0. But to bring this demo folder in perspective, here I have a files folder, and here I have a set of video files and photos that I want to go ahead and use in this demonstration. So I'm going to pop over, and this is my demo Joomla install. And when DOCman 2.0 installs itself, you now have a Joomla tools-files folder in your Joomla directory. So I'm going to go in there and into this subfolder DOCman-files. And here's basically where you place your files. So if I copy those files of mine in, let me go ahead and minimize that and go back to the files view. Now I should see all of those files because I just copied and pasted them over. And what I'm going to want to do right now in a few seconds is I'm going to want to use DOCman's create documents function up here in the top right corner, and that's going to allow me to add in multiple files very quickly to a DOCman category. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a category structure to essentially map to what I have here. So that's the only part that I kind of wish was a little bit quicker, but I'm going to go ahead and do that real fast. Luckily I've done this before, so that'll help with this. So let me go ahead and save a new. And just to be able to demonstrate different orderings within DOCman list, I'm going to create these out of order so that if I do a sort by, let's say, ordering or by created date, we'll be able to see this. So I'm going to do 3, 2, 1. And then 4, 5, 6. Let's see. Let me double check here. Copy that in. Save and new. Okay, so now I have this category structure, and as you can see here, it's being displayed in that same ordering. So let's say I sort by ordering with DOCman list in the front end, I should get this ordering. Whereas if I sort by title, let's say, it would be in the typical ordering, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a few more categories to represent the photos. And I guess I can go ahead and create these semi out of order as well to demonstrate. Okay, and lastly, I'm going to add in a videos folder. Okay, now I have my entire structure here, category structure. So now I'm going to go back to my files, and I'm going to open up my folders, select the ones that I need, create documents, and put those in the proper areas. So save. Okay, that takes care of the videos. Takes a little bit longer for the images because DOCman 2.0 goes ahead and creates some thumbnails automatically. So let's see here. Those belong in 1024, 101224. Okay, save. Back. Do the same thing for this folder. So bear with me. It'll take a few moments here to go ahead and get all these into all my categories I just created. And then we'll get to the good stuff, which would be all the DOCman list presentation. Okay, go back. One thing you do have to keep in mind, for DOCman 2.0 is what you have to keep in mind for DOCman 2.0 is that since it does create these thumbnails sort of on the fly here, if you do have a larger JPEG image, let's say from a really high quality camera, and let's say that's, you know, well, actually, these are still pretty large. I guess I didn't resize them. Yeah, so it can sometimes take a while to create those thumbnails, so just be careful. I did notice in some of my testing that you might get a timeout, or at least in my local environment, but usually reloading took care of that issue. Okay, let's see, district. Let me go ahead and increase this so that I can get all the files at one time. Overall, I would say the new DOCman 2.0 stuff is pretty great in terms of being able to make it nice and quick to add in your files. So I'm looking forward to trying it out in production eventually myself. But also looking forward to, I guess, clients using DOCman list and letting me know their ideas and other stuff for improvement. Okay, we're going to do chapter 3 here. Get those in there. So all in all, I'm going to be adding in about 340 files across 15 folders, which is, you know, a pretty sizable amount of files. Some of you might have considerably more than that, a couple thousand or more. But I'll have a good example of how DOCman list should be able to take care of that situation. Alright, back again. Okay, just 3 more. All right, 2 more. Luckily in my case with this demo, I have no need to edit these titles or add in descriptions or make any real changes down here, but of course you're able to do all those types of things if needed, if you needed to tweak some of these titles before hitting save. Alright, now just the last one. And I'm thinking since the 4th chapter had a subfolder for Word documents, I'm going to go ahead and add one additional category and just add those in real quick just to make sure I kind of cover that. And that'll also give a good example of an additional layer of category nesting. Okay, Word documents. Let's put that under chapter 4. Save and close. Then let's go ahead and find those files. Alright, let's create those. Save. Alright, awesome. So now we have our category structure created. We have the files that weren't connected to anything now turned into DOCman documents using the create documents function. So if we go over here to the documents area, now we'll have all of these different documents. Okay. One thing we'll probably want to do with some of the photos is make sure that they have thumbnails, because by default when we added these in, nothing was added here for the thumbnail. So if we use the automatically generate functionality and save, that allows a thumbnail to be generated automatically for us. So I'm going to go ahead and probably do that in the next portion of the video, which should be in just a moment. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and continue, and we're going to continue with making some thumbnails here. I'm going to go ahead and keep it to just a single photos folder, just to make it a tad easier for us to continue on to the next part of all this. So I'm going to do these 4 files. Okay, so there's one. Here's 2. Here's 3. Excuse me. And let's do the last one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and save and close. Okay, so we have those 4 thumbnails generated, and the last part that I want to do before heading over to the DOCman list portion of this is to mention that it's very important that we have a menu item for DOCman. And just to give you an example of and the reason why I'm kind of requiring this for DOCman list, I'm not sure if it's actually required for DOCman itself or not, but it seems to be. And the reason why I'm requiring it is because I noticed with the SCF URLs, I believe, it kind of makes everything broken if there isn't a DOCman menu item available. So just to show you, and oops, backwards. Okay, so what this translates into is, of course, DOCman list initiates the plugin and allows it to run. Get subfolders is a placeholder. It actually, in this case, doesn't necessarily need to be spelled the way I've spelled it here. It's just the way I've been spelling it ever since I created DOCman list, so I've kind of left it that way in my examples. But technically, you could write it like this, and it'd be fine. So DOCman list, get subfolders, and then the 99 represents 99 levels deep. That's just an arbitrary number on my part as well. You can make it 999 levels deep, but typically most DOCman installs don't go very deep in terms of their category structure, so 99 should be way more than enough. And then 0 just represents the root category. So in this case, what this translates into is get all of the categories starting at the root level up to 99 levels deep. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and refresh. And here you should now see this additional text, and this says, please create a menu item for the DOCman list menu type, all categories. Otherwise, DOCman list won't be able to create URLs properly. So I've gone ahead and done that within the plugin, so that it kind of forces you to do that ahead of time, and then kind of point you in the right direction to make sure that you do have that completed. So I'm going to go ahead and add a menu item for the DOCman list menu type. And the default is all categories, which is what we want. And I'm going to just go ahead and name this documents and save and close. And refresh the front end. And now we have a documents page here. And essentially what that provides us with is this additional kind of root area for the SCF URLs to latch onto, because those SCF URLs will be all placed after this. So for example, board policies and procedures, it's documents/board policies and procedures. So we kind of needed this root area to kind of give the SCF URLs that anchor to build the rest of the URL off of. Okay, so now that we have that, let me just show you a bit of what I'm proud of with this DOCman list version. So right now we have 27 queries being logged, and these are all, and then on the debugging 15 query types. So the main one that we have that's executed most often is this one from the banners component that comes with Joomla, and most likely the reason for that is probably because of these items down here at the bottom. I'm thinking those are banner coming out of the banners extension. So anyhow, right now nothing related to DOCman is being executed. So I'm going to go now to that Joomla page. Go back once again and type this in. Get subfolders 99.0 and save. And refresh one more time. Alright, so now we have a decent example of what's going on with DOCman list. And this is using the regular table layout, which is still the default with DOCman 2.6. And I'll probably go in and change that, because my preferred one nowadays is the nested table layout, which it's pretty great. So let's check the database queries one more time. So right now, 1,445 queries, which is a lot. But memory usage, 23.46, and execution time, about 10 seconds for the page. So, if you can see here, there is a lot of repetition of this query and this query. So both of these, they're executed again and again and again, and they really don't have to be. And I've gone ahead and reported that to the Joomla Tools folks, and that's going to be corrected in Beta 4. So this is something we don't really have to worry about all that much. But as you can see, these are the top 2 queries being executed on the page. So if that issue is resolved, which it technically already has been, since they already updated it in their code base, but it won't be available until Beta 4 comes out. So without these two, if you exclude that from the results, really the only additional queries that have been added in are a couple of these from DOCman list, this one, and then a couple more of these. So probably about 6 to 10 queries total are being executed by a DOCman list. So that is really great because that's a pretty minimal amount of queries. The 1445 is actually low compared to what it was when I was originally doing my DOCman list 2.6 development. It had jumped up to like 4,000, 5,000. It was pretty crazy. So after all my optimizations, it's actually super low now, especially once the bug that I just mentioned, once those are corrected in Beta 4, it'll be really low. So I'm going to continue. Alright, to continue where I left off a few moments ago, I want to go ahead and show you a couple of new features in DOCman list 2.6. So one new thing is the show demo functionality. So if I go ahead and temporarily disable that, save, and refresh here, you'll see what I'm talking about. So the demo gives you some key information that anybody can use. For example, going over the getting all the categories option, which not everybody knows about until they ask. Some basic syntax, examples, how to specify multiple category IDs, which is entirely possible. And then a lot of details about the option keys. So currently, aside from what's available on the website, a lot of the documentation is embedded within the tooltips. So, for example, if you have a question about a particular field, I've tried my very best to provide a lot of detail in these tooltips. So, for example, here, if you want to use, or if you want to change this on the fly in your code, or I mean in your particular instance of DOCman list, you would use category order ascending, category order descending. Or if you want to change the order, so order by name, order by title, order by alias, but the default is order by the regular Joomla ordering. So I'm going to go ahead and oh, sorry, backtrack. So I was talking about the demo. So what the demo code essentially does is it kind of takes a lot of this embedded documentation and presents it here on the page. So, for example, these are examples that I had on the demo site. So that's nice to have as just as example references, showing you that you can use an option key within the code to override a setting on the fly, and you can override multiple settings. You can essentially use as many of the settings or the option keys as you want at any time and override the settings, which I'm pretty proud of because that adds in a ton of flexibility and doesn't limit you to just one set of settings at a time. And then on top of all those examples, down here we have the parameters with their descriptions, which have been taken from the back end here. And then it gives you an example of each of the option keys. So you could say, okay, set cache time. Cache lifetime allows you to set a custom integer value for the cache lifetime parameter. Okay, custom description width. And these examples are all the ones that require custom variable or values. So those would all look something like this example here. For example, like set limit, that requires a value to be placed. So it'd be set limit space and then some value afterwards. So that's how all these variables work. And then if I scroll down a little bit, these are the regular option keys. So if you type in auto expand one level, it's going to know, okay, we're going to set the auto expand level parameter to 1. So for these, you don't have to specify anything else. They're kind of self-explanatory. So force caching on sets cache to 1. Force caching off sets cache to 0. Category order by title sets the cat order to table.title. So there are a ton of these, and the show demo option just kind of allows you to spit these out on your page. And then let's say I want to, print this out. Might take a couple seconds because it's quite a bit of output. But let's say this is your business, or you have a couple staff members that you kind of also want to explain some of this stuff to. I'm hoping that this show demo functionality will make it a little bit easier for you to just share this information. I'm also planning on kind of taking a copy of it and placing it on the orwar.com site as documentation for you guys as well. So hopefully that'll come in handy. Go ahead and close this because it's taking a couple seconds. So that's it for the show demo functionality, which is going to be pretty handy, I think, for people. All right. So going back here to the back end, something I'm pretty proud of in the 2.6 version is the new organization of the parameters, I've tried to go ahead and group them into the various types of options: ordering, display, layout, caching, and then kind of just spacing them out, trying to group them, just trying to make it a little easier to understand. So I'm going to go ahead and change this. Oh, while I'm here in the layouts, another new feature in version 2.6 is I've made it way easier to group the layouts. So essentially, any nested layout will be considered nested if it starts with the word nested. If it's not, then it'll be over here. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to nested table as my default and save. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to title by default. So let me go back to my article, open that up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove the demo code for now. Save that, refresh. Alright, so now we have a completely nested layout. Just like that. But let's say I want to change something on the fly. So, well, one thing to notice now is that everything is ordered by title because of the parameter I changed. So let's say I wanted to change that back to the order by ordering, right? Category order by ordering. Save. And let's say I want to show these collapsed now. Show collapsed. Save. Refresh. Alright, so now they're back to order by ordering, as you can see. But the other thing you noticed, hopefully, was that it started out collapsed. And the reason for that is because I changed that option on the fly. So let's say I want to do that same thing. So now I don't want to do order by ordering. I want to use the default global setting, which is order by title. And I want to leave it to, the expanded. So I'll save that and refresh one more time. And really, part of the reason why this is taking so long is because of those repetitive queries being executed at the moment with Beta 3. Okay, but those should be corrected in Beta 4, and that actually helps reduce the execution time pretty dramatically. But at the moment, it is kind of slowing things down a little bit for us. So let me go ahead and reload one more time just to show you the difference. And actually, let me go ahead and stop that, just to give you a better indicator. This is the second example. Just to give you a little bit of spacing between the two so you can know where the second one starts here. So let's give that a couple seconds. Alright, so that's the first example, but you see in the second example, it's using the default of expanded. So if I collapse that, collapse that, collapse that, you kind of get something like the first example. but that's all options that you're able to change on the fly with DOCman list, which once again I'm pretty happy about. It's kind of neat to have all these features come together. So here is a pretty crazy example. Let's see here. So let's see. Oops. Alright, so let's see. This is a nested simple file list layout example. And this is a nested simple file list CSS3 layout example. And let's see. Alright, this is not nested. This is nested. Okay. So let's check out that as an example. And most likely this example won't load because it's going to take too long to execute. But that's a good demonstration of a scenario we would get if, let's say, you did have a ton of files that are supposed to be displayed on a page, and for one reason or another, let's say your web host has a limit, like I do here on my local box, of about 30 seconds for the execution time. And let's say, for this one page, because you're displaying so many files or for whatever reason, it takes a little bit more time to process. So here we've reached that 30 seconds. For version 2.6, I've gone ahead and added an option to edit that on the fly if your web host allows it. So the custom default value is 120 seconds, so all you have to do is turn this option on. And you can turn it on the fly. Just say use custom max execution time, and that'll set this setting on. But let's say I just want to turn it on globally. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Refresh. And after 30 seconds plus, this should come back to us with our output. So while that's loading, let me show you a quick, some quick additional details here. So one additional feature I'm pretty proud of in the 2.6 release is that now there is automatic support for template layout overrides. So let's say I want to create an override for my layout. So if I go into DOCman list, layouts, here are all the default layouts that are listed, right? And just to pull up some information here, I've made it in such a way now with the 2.6 version that all of the nested layouts really just refer back to the non-nested layouts, which helps me to save repetitive code and whatnot, but it just makes it a lot easier for me to add new layouts now. So let's say I did want to create a new layout, and let's say I wanted it to be very similar to another layout, like let's say the new image list layout as an example. What I can do is I can go over to my templates folder, go into here, create a new folder for DOCman list. So this is the exact folder name that I'm looking for, plug _ content _ DOCman list. You could throw in your override, so you can leave it the same name if you want to override that particular layout, or if you want to create your own custom layout, you can do that. You can just add in a new file here, give it your own custom name, And then if you go back into the plugin, you'll actually see that as an option. Custom layout is now here. So, so if you wanted to follow that example and create a nested version of that layout, all you would do is you would go back, take another copy of one of the nested examples. So any of these would be fine because they're all the same. So if you just grab one of those, go back into your templates folder, go ahead and copy that in, and all you have to do is just name it exactly the same as your non-nested layout. You know, all you need is that extra nested part in the front. So if we go ahead and save, and just go back here to the layouts, now we have custom layout and we also have nested custom layout. So now we have both of those available to us, which is pretty cool. And there might, hopefully I'm not forgetting a step here. Yeah, so we should be fine. So let's say I want to use that custom layout. I have, you know, all these example option keys: use table layout, use nested table layout. Those are all kind of built in, but to just make it easier to use your own custom layout, you have at the very example here, custom example, use custom layout, and then you would type in your custom layout name. So use custom layout. So let me change my first example to use my custom layout. So use custom layout, and I want to use the nested custom layout. So let me go ahead and type that in. So use custom layout, nested custom layout, and save. And refresh. Thinking. Alright, so now if I open up one of these, it's using that image list layout because I haven't customized my custom layout. But that's how easy it is to create your own layout. You can start customizing it and you can use it on the fly, which are all pretty neat features in the new version. Alright, for this part of the tutorial video, I kind of want to go over, you know, a couple of the layouts for DOCman lists because, well, not everybody, I guess, knows about the different layouts. So let's backtrack a little bit. Let's remove this. Okay. So if you remember from the previous video, I set the default layout to nested table. So if we refresh the page here, we should see the nested table layout. Alright, and so what we have here is our nested folders, and then we have our files listed in a table, and then any subfolders are also listed there, like this one, and those files are listed. So that's the basic overview of this layout. We have the option of hiding the size column, the added on column, the last updated on column. A new feature in this version is you can also enable thumbnails to be displayed in a column. There's also tooltips, and you could show the description for the tooltip. You could show the description for the category. All of those are features that are available, and I'm looking forward to people using all of that good stuff. So let's see. The next layout, let's see, we have, use nested drop-down layout. Let's try that one out. So let's switch now to use nested drop-down layout. Save, refresh. Alright, so now for this example, and it's going to be quite long just because I haven't decided to hide any of these values, but if you hid the size, the added on date, and stuff, that would make the drop-down select box a little bit shorter. It's basically just a list of your files, and you have the ability to click on one of them, and that would load the file right up in your browser. So that's pretty neat. So that's what this option is used for. The use categories layout, nested categories layout. This is basically a simplified version of the nested table layout, and in this case you just have the categories. So it's essentially nested tables, but without anything inside of the folder. So this is great if you want to use links. Oh, and kind of one thing I totally forgot to mention early on is that definitely in DOCman 2.0, it does make it a little bit more difficult to kind of figure out what the ID numbers are for DOCman list, which is kind of required because you need those IDs in order to tell DOCman list which categories you want to pull out and all that. So one option you have is, if you can see at the bottom of my screen here, the URL is listed with localhost demo /administrator /index.php, option equals com_docman, and view equals category, and ID is equal to 1. So if I go to a different one, ID is equal to 2, ID is equal to 3, 4, 5, and so on. So you can either do that or click on the URL itself, and you can see it here in the browser. So that's pretty much the only way to get the IDs out in DOCman 2.0, because we no longer have a column here for the ID number, which used to be available in the older version of DOCman. Okay, so that was important to mention because it kind of segues into the whole DOCman list output. And one feature I added in here was to add in the ID numbers as tooltips. So let's say you use the the whole get subfolders 99 levels deep for the root category, which gets you all of the categories. You can use this output as a quick, easy reference for the ID numbers. So you can say, okay, that's ID number 1, that's ID 4, 3, and then from that you can say, okay, ID numbers. Let's see, ID number 5. So now that I know that's the ID number, I can come back here and say get subfolders, 5 levels deep for category number 5. Okay, to make that less confusing, let's say get subfolders 3 levels deep for category ID number 5. Save. And now you would have this output So this, and those three are from the first DOCman list call, and then the second one is from the second DOCman list call. So I'm just grabbing that category and its subcategories out. So you don't always have to get all of the categories out. Actually, that's why I made DOCman list, because a lot of times you want to just get a portion of your categories and display them on one part of your site, and maybe in other situations you want to display this other part of your categories on a different part of the site. So DOCman list really gives you that flexibility to pick and choose which portions, which categories you want to display, and it just adds a ton of options for you to really make DOCman a really great solution for your site. So let me go ahead and remove this. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and try out another layout. So we had already tried the drop-down layout. We tried the categories. Let me go ahead and show you the very new nested image columns layout. Image columns. Okay, save. Alright, so image columns essentially displays your image, well, it doesn't have to be images, right? But it'll display your files, particularly if they are images, in a nice multiple column layout. By default, I think I have it set to 3 columns, but that's customizable. You can make it 4, 5, 2, whatever works for your site. And if tooltips are displayed, if you hover over the title, it'll show quite a bit more information about the file. And just to make it easier here, let me go ahead and kind of minimize those. And as you can see, here are the 4 thumbnails that I ended up creating earlier. So those would get displayed automatically and look quite nice, and you could even click on it and preview that in your browser. So hopefully people will be able to make use of this new layout. In the next portion, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the image list layout, which is similar and image focused, but it has a different presentation. Alright, so for this next example, I'm going to go ahead and use the image list layout. So let's go ahead and try that. Image list layout. Save. Refresh. Alright, so let me go ahead and minimize a couple of these. Alright, so this is the image list layout. Essentially, you would have your your file description in between this details button and the title, if your file did have a description. But the details are displayed here. Your image can be displayed either on the left-hand side, or you can also have it displayed on the right-hand side, depending on the settings for the plugin. And it just gives you a nice kind of little presentation format, which in a way is somewhat similar to DOCman's output, but since it's mostly my code, it has the look that I put together for it, which is a bit different than the DOCman one. So hopefully you guys like that layout. I don't use a lot of images on my DOCman site, but if you use a lot of images on yours, this will probably be pretty great. Okay, so let's see. Another new layout is the simple file list. So simple file list layout. Let me refresh here. And the file list layout was mostly added because I kind of wanted just a simpler presentation, you know. Sometimes that table can be kind of real, I guess, complicated looking is maybe the best way to describe it, or maybe it's like too busy. So if you want a simpler presentation, that's what the simple file list layout is for. If you have the tooltip option enabled, when hovering over any of these files, you would see quite a bit more detail about the file, but none of it's displayed here in the body unless you're hovering over it. So that's what makes it simpler. And this is just a regular, ordered list, and that's it. So if you're looking for this type of presentation, this one's available now. And then I'm going to also show you the CSS3 version of this one, which essentially adds simple file list CSS3. Okay. This one also adds columns, but the main thing is that it would work for new browsers that support it. I think IE is probably the only one that doesn't really support this functionality at the moment. So this is using Css3 Columns, and essentially you have the same thing as a simple file list, but it's broken down into the number of columns that you define. Default is 3 columns. So this is kind of another neat option that I hope some people will get to make use out of in the new version. And again, if you have tooltips enabled, if you hover over any of these, well, let me just show you that. Display options, tooltips. Okay, so let's see. Show tooltip with thumbnail. Okay, let me add that option key. Show tooltip with thumbnail. Save and reload. Okay, so now if I hover over any of these, you'll see the file details, the description if there is one for the file, and a thumbnail if one is available for the file. So if I go down to the photos, nothing in terms of thumbnails, but down here we do. So you would see those available, which is hopefully a nice, little bonus feature. All right. And there are a ton of options here. So if you want to show the category count all the time, or for the most part all the time, then you can turn that option on by default. Save it. Refresh. And now you'll see the number of files for each category. As you can see, there isn't a count after this category because the show empty category count option is turned off. So typically if something has 0 files, you don't really want to, say it. So that's why that's off by default, but just in case you do want that on, you just turn that on, or you can use the option key, show empty category count. Click save, refresh, and now after board policies and administrative procedures, you would see 0 displayed. See? So, tons of options here. One thing I was noticing with the new DOCman 2 was ordering was kind of limited, so you definitely have a ton more options within DOCman list than you might otherwise have within DOCman 2.0. So you can the last modified date, created on date, finish publishing date, start publishing date. You can sort by any of those. The DOCman menu feature from older versions of DOCman List has been brought back, but really only the downloads home is available as a link. Before, I used to have the search and also submit file options. Those are no longer available at the moment just because I don't know what the status is on search in DOCman 2.0, and the submit files functionality is a little bit different now. So basically this would take you over to the DOCman home at the moment if you want to use that feature. The other thing, we have the output caching. So and on some of my sites I use it just because it does help performance-wise if you are outputting a ton of data. So let's say I'm going to turn force caching on. So like right now, right, we are using 24.5 megabytes. It's taking about 10 seconds to render because all of those extra queries that are occurring. And then, we have all this stuff going on, right? So if we turn force caching on, save and refresh. So now what will happen is that even if, let's say, I don't have caching turned on in my Joomla install, that will force it to be turned on for this particular instance. And right now it hasn't taken effect yet, but if I reload, then you can see here now it's just 28 queries. Memory usage has gone down, and application execution time has gone way down too, because now it's just retrieved all of this data from cache and just spit it out and rendered it for you. So it makes it a lot quicker. Alright everyone, so I apologize for the somewhat random nature of my video taking today. It's been a long while since I've made a video tutorial, to be honest, so I hope it was informative. I'm looking forward to ideas for future videos from you guys. So if you guys have any ideas, feel free to shoot me an email at orware, ORWARE, @gmail.com. Or you can also send me a question at support@orware.com as well, either or. But orware@gmail.com is my direct line if you did want to send me an email. What else did I want to mention here? I guess not too much else. I really do hope you guys enjoy using DOCman List 2.6 because I had a great time developing it and working through the performance issues that I encountered and all of that fun stuff that I like working on. And I hope you guys are able to make use of it on your website and that it makes a difference for you. Alright, enjoy! Bye.